Hello, my beautiful, sharp, intelligent family, and welcome back. Today, we need to talk about something the UK media never intended to say out loud, but accidentally did anyway. And when they slip like this, we listen carefully, because this is where the truth lives. Richard Eden, yes, that Richard Eden, Daily Fail editor, Palace loyalist, longtime cheerleader for the Wales brand, has published an article quietly admitting that Kate's longtime go-to designer has hit rock bottom as debts rise. Not facing challenges, not restructuring, rock bottom. That wording alone should tell you everything. This is not an attack piece. This is not rogue journalism. This is controlled narrative collapse. Because for years, we were sold one of the most aggressively protected myths in modern royal media history, the Kate effect. We were told that when Kate wears something, brands flourish, that she boosts British fashion, that designers thrive because of her patronage, that she is a global style icon whose influence translates into real economic power. And now, suddenly, the receipts are arriving, one after another, quietly, politely, without fanfare. Brands struggling, designers folding, debts mounting, relevance fading. And instead of pretending this is a one-off, it's time to admit what's actually happening. The Kate effect, as it was marketed to the public, never truly existed in the way we were told. It was a media illusion sustained by repetition, protection, and an obedient press. Let's be very clear. Visibility is not the same thing as impact. A photograph is not the same thing as demand. A headline is not the same thing as a healthy business. Selling out one dress because a handful of royal watchers panic buy is not the same thing as building a sustainable brand. The UK media deliberately blurred those lines for over a decade, and now the fashion industry itself is correcting the record. Richard Eden did not write this because he suddenly became brave. He wrote it because the truth has become impossible to hide. When even the most palace-friendly voices are forced to admit decline, it means the spin room is out of options. This is not the first time this has happened. We've seen this pattern before. Designers long associated with Kate get a temporary bump in attention, followed by stagnation. Headlines fade, consumer interest moves on. There is no lasting global pull, no international expansion driven by her association, no cultural momentum that carries these brands forward. They remain niche, polite, largely domestic, and dependent on royal symbolism rather than modern relevance. What the UK media never properly explains is that the so-called Kate effect repeatedly failed the ultimate test, sustainability. Time and again, brands closely associated with Kate either entered administration, shut down completely, or faced severe financial distress. Seraphine, once hailed as the crown jewel of royal maternity fashion, collapsed into administration despite global exposure and a sky-high valuation. L.K. Bennett, synonymous with Kate's early royal image, has fallen into administration not once, but twice. Issa, the brand behind Kate's engagement dress, couldn't survive the pressure of sudden demand and went out of business altogether. Eponine London quietly announced its closure. Orla Keeley ceased trading. The Vampire's Wife shut its doors. These are not isolated incidents. They form a clear pattern that directly contradicts years of breathless media claims about royal fashion power. And now we arrive at the designer Richard Eden just exposed, the one we're not supposed to talk about too loudly, the one whose finances are unraveling. This is the moment where the myth officially cracks, because if the Kate effect were real today, this designer would not be sinking, they would be expanding, they would be profitable, they would be investor-friendly, they would be protected by the very influence the media has sworn exists. Instead, we have debt, decline, and a quiet admission slipped into print like an apology no one wanted to write. This didn't happen overnight. This didn't happen because of one dress or one season. It happened because Kate's fashion presence has never evolved beyond safety. The silhouettes are predictable. The choices are conservative. The message is reassurance, not inspiration. That might comfort traditionalists, but it does not drive modern consumer behavior. Fashion today is about identity, storytelling, and cultural connection. People buy into meaning, not mannequins. They want to feel seen, energized, represented. Kate's style offers none of that. It is neutral, cautious, and frozen in time. It exists to offend no one, and as a result, excites no one. And this is where the comparison the UK media desperately avoids becomes unavoidable. Meghan Sussex. When Meghan wears something, the impact is immediate and measurable. Websites crash, items sell out globally, small brands experience overnight international demand. Designers publicly thank her because their businesses actually feel the effect, not just in headlines, but in revenue. Misha Nanu, Strathberry, Outland Denim, Rixo, Kuyana, Everlane, Laline, Club Monaco. The list is long and the results are documented. Meghan's influence translated into sales without palace backing, without taxpayer-funded PR, without a decade of media worship. And that is precisely why the press worked so hard to dismiss it. They labeled Meghan's impact as hype, as manipulation, as controversy. Meanwhile, they inflated Kate's presence into a commercial fairy tale that could not survive basic economic scrutiny. Meghan's influence was organic and global. Kate's was curated and domestic. One moved markets, the other moved headlines. The irony is brutal. Kate had the full royal machine behind her. Institutional protection, favorable coverage, silence where there should have been scrutiny, and even with all of that, the narrative could not sustain itself. The UK media is not suddenly tired of Kate as a person. They are tired of defending a brand that no longer delivers. They are tired of pretending the audience has changed. Younger consumers have moved on, international audiences are disengaged, and fashion insiders have quietly stopped pretending. And let's not ignore the broader context: the edited photos, the pulled images, the conflicting statements, the long absences, the collapse of trust. Fashion influence depends on visibility and credibility. You cannot shape trends if people don't see you, and you cannot sell aspiration if people don't believe the image they're being shown. This is not cruelty, this is consequence. No one deserves illness, no one deserves harassment, but narratives deserve interrogation. And the narrative that Kate is an unmatched fashion force has now collapsed under the weight of its own exaggeration. The UK media created this myth. They protected it, they monetized it, and now they are quietly dismantling it because reality has made it indefensible. The Kate effect did not die because of critics. It did not die because of Meghan. It did not die because of social media. It died because it was never built on substance. It was built on repetition, obedience, and an audience that eventually stopped believing. Richard Eden did not expose this on purpose. He was simply the messenger delivering bad news the palace can no longer outrun. And this right here is what a controlled narrative collapse looks like: slow, polite, carefully worded, but unmistakable. Reality always catches up, and when it does, even the most loyal storytellers are forced to tell the truth, whether they mean to or not. I'll see you in the next one.